11 Alive News Primetime starts now.
I'm meteorologist Nicole Hartford, and we begin with a look at Hurricane Ian as it makes its way towards Florida. It made landfall earlier this morning along Cuba and is now continuing its trek up towards the northeast through the Gulf of Mexico. This is its distinct eye wall right here, and this is also prompting quite a few tornado warnings into portions of South Florida. Hurricane Ian currently is expansive and where we're seeing the rain. It stretches across south into central Florida, where rainfall is already making its way into the Tampa area as we await our official landfall, which will likely take place tomorrow afternoon. Currently, it is moving up towards the north. It's producing winds of about 120 miles per hour. Those are sustained winds, which put it at Category 3. It does have wind gusts up to about 150 miles per hour, and further strengthening is actually anticipated as it moves northeast at 10 miles per hour. The official track from the National Hurricane Center does have it intensifying to a major Category 4 hurricane overnight tonight. The biggest change that we've seen throughout the day today when it comes to the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center is it keeps that intensity at a Category 4 hurricane upon landfall. Now, there's still a small swath of area where we could potentially see that landfall that stretches from Tampa down to the Fort Myers area, but that's the location where we will likely see the most major impacts when it comes to landfall and the storm surge, the gusty winds associated with this hurricane. Once it goes over land, it will weaken to a Category 1 hurricane and eventually a tropical storm as it curves up towards the northeast. We're also starting to see the possibility that this could re-enter into the Atlantic Ocean briefly, which could allow it at least to hold on to some of its strength with a second landfall along the coast of Georgia or even South Carolina. But there's even more uncertainty when it comes to the forecast once it moves across the state of Florida. Timeline for that would be into late Thursday and then Friday, where we start to see that exiting Florida potentially and then making its way towards Georgia. This will be weakening to a tropical depression as we start to see the impacts here in the Atlanta area in the form of some rainfall. We've been talking a lot about where this track will be going and how that will impact our forecast, and that is still the case. An eastward track like what we're seeing on the National Hurricane Center's official track would mean less impact for us in the Atlanta area, which is good news. There's also better agreement among our spaghetti models, but still not a distinct consensus, especially after that landfall. They start to spread out a little bit, with some of these models having a sharper turn back towards North Georgia and others keeping it mainly going up towards the north. This is our view right now at St. Pete Beach, where it really doesn't look so bad yet. We can certainly see the surf out there, but not exceptionally rough. That's going to change quickly over the course of the next 24 hours. In advance of Hurricane Ian, we have hurricane warnings and tropical storm warnings that extend across almost the entire Gulf Coast of Florida into the coming days. Those tropical storm warnings also extend up into portions of far southeast Georgia, with tropical storm watches in effect for the southeast Georgia coast as well as South Carolina in the coming days. Those hurricane warnings and tropical storm warnings mainly have to do with the strength of winds that we're anticipating. But of course, wind is not the only factor to consider with these tropical systems. There's also storm surge, which in this case is expected to be pretty major, stretching from Fort Myers down towards the south. The most intense storm surge could get up to locations that see the sea rise up to 8 or 9 feet or even greater. We're anticipating some storm surge as well down towards the coast of Georgia, where that could be anywhere from 3 to 6 feet. That includes the Savannah area and really all of the Georgia coast. Rain chances here start to go up by Friday afternoon, but Saturday, especially early Saturday, looks like it'll be the wettest time for us. Our track depends very heavily on whether or not Hurricane Ian makes that trek back towards the west. If it does, that would mean more rain, stronger winds, potentially even a severe weather or a tornado threat. What looks like the most likely scenario right now, though, is that it stays east, which means less rains as well as weaker winds. Coming up, I'll have more on our impact here in Atlanta, and we'll also have your news headlines after the break.